Well, one of the great beauties about trees is that they provide answers to a lot of questions about our future on this earth. Questions like, what is the most environmentally friendly material to build our house with? How can we pull carbon out of the atmosphere from our excessive use of fossil fuels? How can we have clean air and healthy soils and clean water? How can we provide more habitat for biodiversity and wildlife? And how can we make this earth more green and beautiful? So everything from the most practical of what to build our house with to the most aesthetic as to how to make the earth prettier, the answer is trees and the wood they provide. And this also teaches us that it's not a contradiction between the beauty of trees and using wood for practical purposes. Because the more wood we use sustainably, the more trees we have to grow, and therefore the more forest there will be. It's actually a win-win for both the environment and the economy to use wood and grow more trees. Where forestry is being practiced, it's usually good forestry. Foresters are good at what they do, and we have hundreds of years of experience and knowledge. The real problem is deciding where we should keep a forest, whether it's a wild forest or a forest we are managing, and where we should remove the forest in order to grow our food and house our people in cities and towns. Deforestation is the permanent loss of the forest. It's not an evil plot. It's something we do on purpose in order to provide us with food and a place to live. But we do need to have a land use plan. But by and large, where forests are being managed for timber, they're being managed well. The main exception, I would say, in North America is in the federal lands of the United States West, where they're not being managed properly. Whether it's for wilderness or timber, they're being managed in such a way that they get set up for catastrophic wildfires and the total loss of not only the trees, but the wildlife and the soils and the fish in the rivers. So there needs to be some improvement made there. But by and large, where timber is being managed by private interests or by governments for wood production, it's usually being done sustainably. Well, there are places in the world, in some of the developing countries, where there's not a good land use plan and where clearance is taking place for agriculture without consideration for maintaining forest and the habitats that forest provides. This is not being caused by forestry, though. This is the big misunderstanding, is the public has been led to think that forests are lost due to forestry, due to logging. Well, of course, when you convert an area of forest into farmland, you do have to log it first. But then, do you reforest it or do you deforest it? Reforestation is putting trees back on land that has been cleared for timber, whereas deforestation is permanently converting that land to some other use. That is not caused by forestry. Forestry results automatically in reforestation, whereas deforestation is caused by agriculture and urbanization and industrial activity, all of which we need. So the key is to have a proper land use plan where some areas of land are maintained in wilderness, others are maintained to grow trees for timber production, and other areas are cleared for growing our food and housing our population. Most people don't realize it, but trees use more energy each year in this world than all of human civilization. As a matter of fact, if you take all of the plants, all our crops, the plankton in the sea, and all the forests of this world, they use considerably more of the solar energy that comes in each year, converting that solar energy into themselves through photosynthesis than all of human civilization. And in fact, I believe that the leaves and needles of trees and plants, which is where that photosynthesis takes place, the conversion of solar energy into the plant itself, is the most important solar collector on Earth. Especially when we consider the future of biofuels and biomass energy. Wood is the most abundant of all biomass materials on Earth. Trees make up most of living matter on this planet. And we can use wood to produce liquid fuels and solid fuels to replace a lot of the fossil fuels that we are using today. One day the fossil fuels will run out. Whether it's 50, 100, or 400 years from now, they will become depleted. When they are, we won't have them anymore. That right now they produce 85% of the world's energy. When they're gone, we will have fuels like wood to make biofuel and biomass energy. We'll have nuclear energy for thousands of years into the future because its fuel is just hugely larger than the fossil fuels. And then we will also have hydroelectric energy. So these are the energies that will be used in the future when the fossil fuels are depleted, and wood is the most important one of those. There's no doubt that the most important environmental fact about forests is that they are home to the majority of living species on this earth. Insects, birds, plants, animals, invertebrates, the majority of them, up to 75 to 80%, require forests for part or all of their living requirements. And so it's really important to make sure that we maintain forested environments around the world, because those species depend on forests for their survival. That doesn't mean you can't do forestry. In the Pacific Northwest, for example, of the United States, and in the south of the United States, and in the Northeast, and in the Midwest, forestry is done with native species of trees. And something similar to natural forests is recreated when you replant native species of trees in North America. Other parts of the world don't necessarily use native species of trees. In those areas, it's really important to maintain even larger areas of natural forest in a wild state to maintain species diversity. But in North America, where we use native trees for our forestry, we can actually maintain most of the biodiversity that was there in the original forest in our managed forests.